put this on here and turn it around.
We'll introduce him a bit later in the show.
What's that?
We'll introduce our Phantom G.
Oh, our Phantom G. Yeah. Okay, just give me a second and I'll... G always complains. He's like, but we're live and you're doing all the stuff. Yeah, I realise that. Let me hit record on here and I'll get the theme up. We can get this puppy going.
Let's get it on.
All right.
Hurry up! Right here! You ain't going nowhere! Well, yeah, you got some straight keeping foot. You ain't tell me that's the fella. Hey, why don't you pass? Ball at the 5, third down and 2. That was bad. We're gonna have some fun, bro. We ain't gotta talk about too much. You want to play the ball! It's holding! What? How is that not called? Somebody gonna call him down, buddy. What is the delay for? He's standing right there. He's taking a card out. He's a piece of paper. It's that close? Dear Lord.
Hello and welcome. It's the Aussie guys. AJ in the house and special guest Dave Evans-Smith. And we're missing someone though. I don't know.
He's not here, but
he's not here.
He's a Phantom Menace. He's not here.
The Phantom Menace. Perfect analogy for
him.
G.
We love him.
We do love him. But anyway, he is not here, and Dave has kindly stepped into the breach.
Thank you, mate.
Big shoes to fill, but he's honestly, easy shoes to fill. No, I shouldn't say that. No.
He's all right for a vegan.
We're gonna miss you, G, tonight, but it doesn't matter. We've sort of got now. Dave's actually got now.
There's you, G, mate. I got you covered. This is the t-shirt I picked up at Cotton On a couple of years back for about $10 when they were getting rid of end of season, and I thought, perfect training t-shirt for gym work. And this is you, mate. This is Spirit of G is here supporting the Falcons, if nothing else.
That is pretty sweet, actually. Cotton On, fancy that, hey? I remember. Yeah, I mean, look, you've been following NFL for years and years and years and years. And it used to be a struggle. Like you'd have to get gear and get it sent over and
Absolutely.
pay, pay fortune.
East Bay via a fax order.
Yeah.
Long before email or internet was up running properly.
Yep.
Faxed orders at certain times so you could get it, so it would be packed and sent the very next day. Yeah, clown shoes. Exactly.
Matt said
right,
big
Matty.
shoes because they're clown shoes. Well, you said it, Matt, not us. We disavow that comment only because, G is often within fist distance of me. Very good. Drinks of the pod, Dave, you're very kind to supply. I tweeted it out before.
Yeah.
The Fox Hat Red Pelt.
Indian Red Ale.
There you go.
It's
and
it's 7.8%. So certainly get the heart started if you need it for a breakfast beer.
Yeah,
Not that we condone that.
7.8%. And Dave, your profession may come in actually handy on air, potentially. I do have my first aid certificate, but I never had to actually apply CPR.
No, that's
practically.
Right. No, that's right. Well, I'm sure it's not that strong. We won't skip a beat. I'm sure, mate.
Whereas I'm sure you do it on a daily basis. Probably not.
No. Don't wish that upon anybody.
No, goodness. I probably shouldn't say that. How often would you have to perform CPR?
There's
cheers, by the way.
Cheers to you too, old son.
Cheers.
And season's greetings. Tell the
Oh,
listeners.
yes, absolutely.
Season's greetings to everyone out there. How often?
I don't mind that. That's nice.
Very nice. Very refreshing. I hadn't done it up until recently for nearly 2 years. Thankfully.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did a big arrest not long ago and actually had to get hands on chest.
Wow.
Yeah, quite often when we get called for those sorts of situations, sadly, the patient has already passed away.
Ah, okay.
So,
Yep.
yeah, we do a lot of deceased more than actually. But there are other folks out there that do them on a weekly basis. It's just depending on where you are and how unlucky or lucky you are.
Yes. And is the procedure usually you're doing that and your partner would be getting out the, what do you call it? The, like the electronic one. And
Yeah, the ECG, for the defib and everything.
The
like that.
defib, and then attach that.
It's actually almost, and we do rehearse it at branch when we have downtime. We do it during our education days.
Yep.
It's essentially a script that we run through so that we have maximum compressions at the right rate, at the right depth, with the right recoil for the patient.
Yep.
To get the potential best outcome. And that includes doing that while someone else applies the pads. And then after 2 minutes, we swap every 2 minutes. And then luckily being in the Melbourne metro area, all the firefighters are trained, so they'll come in and help as well.
Yep.
So then we can then move on to doing other things like cannulating for fluid and drugs and so forth. And then Micah will come along, the intensive care guys come along and apply their skills. So yeah, it's a pretty in-depth process, and it is, like I said, it is almost a formulated script, but it then assures the best outcome potential for the patient.
So speaking of CPR and life-saving, the Dallas Cowboys today, they were in need of it.
They were atrocious.
Before till recently, the 6-6 Cowboys and 6-6 Chicago Bears met today, Thursday night football. Cowboys, surprisingly, despite their loss today, still on top of probably the worst division in football.
Worst division.
I mean, we could have, and this is something that you might mention in your list of things, I don't know, but the fact that, let's say, the Cowboys could potentially finish the season with a losing record and host a home playoff game is
Jerry's wrong.
All kinds of wrong.
Yes. Yes. And then you've got other teams that'll be, 9-7, 10-6 in the AFC.
Yeah.
That will potentially miss out on a playoff berth because they will be in the 7th or 8th or 9th spot.
Right.
Versus the no football conference, where the NFC, where you just, it's a chaos. And I think they're only on top due to head-to-heads. The in division wins, I think.
Oh no, they've still got maybe a game and a half on the Eagles, I think.
Well, that'll be it then until Sunday.
Until Sunday. So we'll see.
Yeah.
The score was 31-24. The score looked a lot more flattering than the actual game was.
Absolutely.
So quite a bit of garbage time there. Have Dak in a couple of fantasy teams, and his score wasn't looking too flash, and I'm sort of quite thankful for a little bit of garbage time action.
Yeah.
Andrew says, fire Garrett. Oh, man, fire Garrett. Are you kidding?
Wow. That was a hot take straight off.
Hot take. Look, man, I'm surprised that he's lasted this long. I mean, is it Jerry Jones is surely just
he gave him the season.
He's got to be gone. Yeah, he's given him the season. The minute we pass week 16, week 17, boom.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Yep.
And kicker, yes. That's fair. That's a fair call.
Well, they had 3 in during the week for tryouts. Apparently, they were doing a Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, I heard Ackerman lamenting it on the broadcast.
He
said
true.
That. He didn't hide his displeasure either at some of the plays that Dak unleashed.
Right.
I heard him huffing and puffing and guffawing in the background, as some of our listeners may have also, that I've gone, wow, there's no hiding the bias there.
Yeah.
But I understood they had 3 kickers, and they still went with the guy that they had, he kicked one out of bounds on the full. He kicked one. I think one went the opposite direction. I think hit the poor peanut seller in row J at the 50-yard line. It was chaos and mayhem. Chaos and mayhem.
My goodness. So anyway, we will see. In other news of the week, there might be things you want to add to this, Dave, as well. But the other thing that I wrote down, Ron Rivera sacked
Riverboat Ron.
Riverboat Ron, sacked by the Panthers during the week. That was met with quite a number of comments from players, Cam especially. He said he'd be open to coaching at the collegiate level. I don't think he needs to worry. I think he's going to get a head coaching gig. No worries, no problems.
Yeah.
The guy is really well liked, highly credentialed. He's in his 8+ seasons, coached the Panthers to a 76, 63, and 1 regular season record, a 3 to 4 playoff record, and of course a Super Bowl appearance. Obviously, they didn't win, but
was it an appearance? Was it really a Super Bowl appearance? Did they just turn up? It was
Broncos.
It was a pretty poor
Super Bowl 50,
something like
was
that.
it?
Yeah.
Broncos. That was the infamous Cam not diving on the ball.
Well, he just had his nails manicured. And
Yeah.
Isn't firing a coach worth a win these days? Only in AFL, Andrew. I don't know what it necessarily translates to the NFL, but sometimes you're right, it does.
Yeah. So, look, I really do like Ron Rivera, and was trying to sort of, Dave and I were talking before I hit record, and I was trying to sort of pin down. I know that obviously he was Chargers DC for a good while, was amazing. He did apply for the head coaching job, I think, and that might have been when the Chargers opted for North Turner. What a winning move that was. But I would welcome him back. I would welcome him back in a heartbeat. Not that I'm not a fan of Anthony Lynn, but I'm a bigger fan of Ron Rivera.
I think Ron shows a bit more passion. Anthony seems measured on the sidelines, but I don't know whether or not that's measured or just pure frustration. And if he lets it out, the television cameras are going to melt, because there's been a lot obviously happened this year that hasn't gone the way you guys planned from the off season.
Just a little bit.
Well,
yeah.
And I don't mean to highlight you guys out of the box, but it was a really potential, much like my team, had a lot of potential.
Well, I was going to say, those in glass houses.
Oh, well, absolutely, absolutely. No, because I feel your pain. But it was really Phil's last chance.
Oh, yeah.
Making a decent run at the playoffs.
Yeah.
So maybe you get him. Riverboat Ron back to not San Diego, LA now.
LA.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to bring up news-wise, or?
Look, the only one that I could think of was 2 days ago, the Browns let go Chris Smith. Now, this was met with a little bit of conjecture and torment, because Chris, if for those of you who don't know, his car blew out a tyre on, I think it was the I-90 up in Cleveland. He was out of the vehicle. A drunk driver hit his car and killed his girlfriend at the scene. Yeah, terrible, terrible thing.
Ooh.
So this was in the early part of the season. Unfortunately, in his handful of appearances, he had only one assist tackle for a D lineman. It had nothing about him or his situation. It was productivity.
Right.
And it's one of those ones that was met with, he's a good man. He's well liked in the change rooms.
Yeah.
The problem is they're still trying to make a push. I know they're 5% or 6% chance, but they're trying to make a push.
Yep.
1 tackle in 7 appearances. It's a business at the end of the day, and you need stats.
I know. It's hard, isn't it? Sometimes the good guys, the nice guys, and let's face it, the majority, obviously we know the big names, your Baker Mayfields, your OBJs, your Nick Chubbs, your Jarvis Landrys, but there's a lot of guys that are just part of NFL teams and squads that are pretty anonymous. So they're earning, I won't say they're not earning a lot of money. They're earning decent money, but they're earning maybe close to the minimum.
Yes.
And there's a lot of guys like that.
Absolutely. And it only goes so far.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there was a dude, now I can't recall his name off the top of my head, and maybe someone who's watching can pick it up. And I think he's a Ravens player who was suspended. Did you hear this? Was suspended indefinitely for placing bets on the NFL game.
Yes, I did hear this. Yeah.
And he had to register. It was at a casino, Las Vegas casino.
Yeah, it's all through Las Vegas,
Yeah. And he went and he had to register. Well, look, what you could just do. This was really is stupid. let's face it, it's stupid. He created a betting account
with his name,
and he wrote professional footballer on the thing. So then they just did a quiet call to Mr. Commissioner and said, hey, listen, this dude has done X, Y, Z. So therefore, they came down on him like a ton of bricks. So, which
as
quite rightly, but it's so stupid because you could just say, if I'm an NFL player, hey mate, listen, can you place the bet for me and do this?
Correct. So long as it's arm's distance, nobody's ever going to know because you don't have links on social media accounts and all this, and the next thing would be something like that and someone would come up and go, oh, thanks, AJ, for placing that bet. I mean, no, sorry, delete. But everyone's so on with screenshotting everything, mate. You're done and dusted there.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Well, there was the Miami running back last week who was released. And
Mark Walton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's disgraceful.
Yeah. I don't know what the latest is on that. I had heard at some point that he was fleeing police and all this sort of thing. So disastrous.
Disastrous, yeah.
So the starting running back in Miami, I think at the moment, is Patrick Laird.
Is it? I haven't even since we played them 2 weeks ago. I haven't even caught up with that. So
who knows?
There you go.
And it'll be different tomorrow.
It will be. Absolutely.
Now tonight we're going to be doing. So it is kind of week 14 preview. Yes and no. We're sort of talking about a few things, but we did have a suggestion, and it came from Neil, who was on 2 weeks ago. Andrew says Josh Shaw of the Cards. Sorry.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you. Cards, Ravens, almost the same.
That's a bird. Yeah,
it's a bird.
Yeah. You can't cook them and eat them. So, yeah.
Now, Neil, who was on 2 weeks ago, suggested. So thank you, Neil. 14 things we've learnt. Things we've learned. So we've just divided it up, although I think together we've probably got like 50 things.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's be honest. Once we get chatting, it evolves.
Oh, yeah. There'll be a ton of things. So mixed in with, you've kind of got all the games written down. We can talk about the games, and absolutely. That's fine. We can talk about anything. It doesn't matter.
Great. Yeah, it's great. And the more the merrier, the more the people join in. It's going to even be better. I see Ganley's there as well. And
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Now, so things that we've learned, and it could be, and please chime in if you're listening. Things that we've learned could be fantasy-wise, could be NFL-wise, could be really anything. Doesn't really matter. But do you want to kick off with one of yours?
Certainly. So the first one, I sort of broke it up into, for me personally, my Browns, seeing they're frustrating. And I had a full head of hair at the start of this year, I really did, I promise you. But the first one is league. The thing I've learnt from both AFC and NFC, a power fullback is still a useful tool.
Yes.
49ers, Ravens.
Yes.
And there's a few other teams starting to use them again. I think that we're sort of taking that step back, doing a Moose Johnson type thing, or the bloke from San Francisco around about the same time I've gone, John, I can't think of his surname. I've gone blank on that, but that
I have too, but yes, I know.
That sort of power back that can block, can shield, can open up space, but can also give you a little receive and power over the line.
Yes. I can go back to the halcyon days of the Chargers.
Has there been a coup? Where's G? No, he cannot practice.
G is he's on the did not practice list.
Yeah.
Yep. DNP.
Yeah. It's done a hammy.
Undisclosed
location.
Injury.
Yeah.
The Chargers in the heyday of LaDainian Tomlinson, they used a fullback.
Yeah.
And despite the skill, LT was a fantastic player. Great hands out of the backfield, could also hit holes, could move laterally, be brilliant, but still sometimes he would just follow, and I'm just trying to think who it was. Lorenzo Neal, maybe? He would just follow the fullback, boom. And man, it was so effective.
Yep. And when they're doing it properly, like the 49ers guy up until he got the high ankle sprain.
Right.
Another boy from Ohio, he was doing that exact same thing. It was like having another lineman punching a hole, turn them left, turn them right, and all of a sudden opens up for their tailbacks.
Yes.
Gives them an extra 8 yards.
Yep.
6 yards.
Yeah. And, it's an interesting thing in the NFL is that trends come around. you know,
Absolutely.
and it goes, oh, you know, we don't kind of like West Coast offense, you know, and then it comes back around. Oh, we like West Coast offense again. Or, you know, we were going through a period of power passing, and we still sort of are, but I think the running back is coming back.
The running back is coming back, absolutely. And you're right. It's not only is it a week-to-week injured reserve, not only is it a week-to-week league, you know, fire a coach,
Right.
keep him, sack him, get rid of that quarterback, you know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you're right. It is so cyclical that we've gone from, you know, no fullback to now 3 or 4 teams are running them. And then you'll see next year, 30 teams will be running them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And hopefully successfully.
Yes, absolutely. I like it.
Thanks.
I like it.
What about you? What was your
Well,
number
okay,
one?
so I'm going to start with a really super obvious one. I started writing it out, and then I thought, this is just so stupid. It's so obvious. But one of the things that I know is Lamar Jackson's the MVP.
Yeah.
Is that
It's not silly because sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees.
maybe?
We've got,
I think we know this now, though. I think we now know it.
but there's still people out there spruiking Kyler, even though he's not showing the numbers.
Ooh,
But
really?
I don't subscribe to it. But there's
No.
any-
CMC,
CMC. Russell is definitely on it,
Contender.
and Bosa. They want to change it
Ooh.
up and have Bosa on the D. Not your Bosa, sadly, the younger one.
the other Bosa.
Yeah, the other
Yeah.
Bosa,
Younger brother.
younger brother.
But it's a quarterback award. It'll never be a non-quarterback.
Sadly, yes.
That year that JJ Watt was playing every damn position in the team and
Except
he never got it.
quarterback.
Yes.
He should have done it. He should have taken a snap.
That's what he should have done. He should have
One
run
snap.
for 1,000 yards.
Only needed one snap.
He should have caught 1,000 yards as a tight end. He should have run 1,000 yards.
Absolutely.
They still wouldn't have given
No,
it to him.
no, absolutely not. No, I think the flash, but that's where you have to take your hat off to that entire franchise. They rebuilt their offense to suit him.
Yeah.
They stuck him in last year, week 8, 9, 10,
Yep.
maybe 11, somewhere around there.
Yep.
They struggled.
Yes, they did.
They won, but they won ugly. Yes, winning's winning, but they won ugly.
Yep.
Now,
Mm.
and it pains me to say it sticks in my throat,
Yeah.
like Fonzie saying sorry, but they win pretty. They play smart. They open holes. They run. They've got Ingram. I mean, he was at the end of the last season. Everyone's going, oh, he's probably done. He's probably a bit done.
Oh, man.
He's not. Maybe only a year left. He looks like he's got 3 or 4 left.
He looks fantastic. So let me give you some stats. 2,532 yards, 25 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Nice ratio there.
Crazy.
977 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns, and we've got 4 games left. Now, I tried to get some comparisons. Do you know who has the record for the most rushing yards by a quarterback? By the way, G hates it when I do this, but
Michael Vick.
yes, see, G, someone who can answer my questions.
And I was going to say, and G, you should have known that one anyway, my brother, because
he would have.
He's a Falcons man.
He would have, but the record is 1,039 yards.
Yeah.
And that was in 2006. And incidentally, Mike Vick's stats in that year, he threw for 2,474. So Lamar's already above him.
Yep.
20 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. Lamar's already better.
Yep.
And he ran 2 touchdowns in. Lamar's already better.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yep.
And then I was looking for some other stats, and I don't think Lamar quite compares to this but 3 quarterbacks, it's just a nice question anyway. Only 3 quarterbacks in NFL history, Dave, see if you can get this, have passed for 4,000 yards and rushed for 500 in a single season. Only 3 have done that. Lamar's not going to make that just because his rushing yards are out of proportion to his passing
And
yards.
his arm's not that good.
Oh, his arms.
It's getting better, but
Yeah.
but it's not a 5,000-yard arm. Okay.
Oh, no.
All right.
So 4,000 yards and 500 on the ground, and only 3 quarterbacks have done it. And it's all modern era quarterbacks.
So from 2000 onwards.
I'll even give you 2010 onwards.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Geez, there's been a lot of quarterbacks. There's
Do,
been
do,
yeah.
do. But if you just picked 3 of the most mobile quarterbacks in the modern game, you'd get it.
Breeze.
Actually, no, sorry. Not Breeze. No.
Well, clearly not Brady because I got excited.
Not Brady, no.
Because he ran 1,000 yards in
Nah.
total.
I won't leave you hanging too long.
Nah, apart from Vic, I've gone blank.
Okay, 2011, Cam.
Oh, of course, Cam Newton, yes.
2015, Russ.
Right.
And 2018, Deshaun Watson.
There you go.
How do you like that? But Lamar is a different cat. I mean, he's going to probably get, well, not probably, he's going to get over 3,000 yards passing and over 1,000 yards rushing.
Yeah, well, he probably would have had that because I don't know where they're taking the sacks from. So he has been sacked a number of times.
True.
So I don't know, are they taking that from his total of rush because he's more?
Oh, that's a good point.
Because he's more likely to rush than pass. Even when he goes on a 5-step drop, that's almost like he's doing the Le'Veon Bell thing, waiting for the line to open up and then go.
Yeah.
So are they taking the yards from his passing score, or are they taking it from his rushing score because he's already on his feet? If they're taking it from his rushing, he would have been over 1,000 yards already, I would imagine.
I would imagine as soon as he's out of the pocket, they're taking it from his rushing. I would think. Rogers, no, sorry, not Rogers. Ganley says Newton. Yes, Newton. Also, another record, but I don't think Lamar is in the ballpark for this. Well, he would have to have some amazing games in these last 4, but most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. Do you know who has the record and how many ballpark?
I would have said 5 and 7.
No, it's much more. And that's the clue.
Cam Newton and 15.
Oh, almost on the money. 2011, Cam Newton, and he got 14.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So Lamar is on 7, so he's probably not really a shot for that record, but he's going to smash the rushing yard
Absolutely,
record.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Do you want to tee up another thing that you want to? That's another thing you've learned.
Well, okay. So I'll jump across to my other list of my Cleveland Browns.
Okay, go for it.
Number one thing I've learned: you can't force synergy. Now, this speaks across the league.
Oh, that's nice.
This speaks across the league.
Yeah,
it doesn't
I like
matter.
that.
So you can't force synergy. I actually did a little bit of flicking back to some similarities. I've been seeing some people talking about it. When in 1995, Cleveland drafted or took Andre Reed. Andre Rison.
Rison, yes.
Their numbers for him and OBJ are not dissimilar when they came.
Really?
Yes, their numbers aren't that. I think he got 5 TDs. He'd come from a season where he was 11 or 12 TDs.
Yeah.
He got 5 in Cleveland. OBJ's only got 2 so far.
Right.
So forcing that synergy, it doesn't matter what you can do, what you think you can do with the names, which are great.
Yep.
And that goes for all of them. I mean, we might have seen the same with Lamar and Ingram, but they're both runners and they're all Heismans.
Right.
But I was listening to someone talk about it the other day, saying that Baker is not necessarily a structured quarterback, but he has the routes in his mind of where they need to be at the point, whereas OBJ's a little bit like Picasso or Salvatore Dali, and will just maybe do a little bit of a shimmy.
Right.
So the ones that you've seen hit his shoulder or go behind him by 3 inches or out of his reach by 4 inches might be because he's done a little toe drag or a little shimmy or something that's throwing that out. So like I'm saying, it doesn't matter. You can't force synergy on a team.
Right.
It has to grow organically, I think.
Yes.
And I think that's across the league. I don't think it's necessarily a Cleveland issue, but it's highlighted this year with the names.
That's a very good point. You think of guys like, say, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, who have just got that synergy. But at the same time, you've got all these other wide receivers they keep trying to trot out there in Green Bay without success.
Correct.
But you could go through a whole, stack of teams with similar. I mean, Rivers and Gates was also a similar thing where they had that synergy. They both suited the system that was being run, etc. And But yeah, I love that point. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Thanks. Yeah.
And I mean, the king of synergy, and I hate to mention him. We mention him every week, but Bill Belichick is like the king of
Absolutely.
synergy.
Is. But and we'll get to that obviously later when we get to the Pats game. But that has come asunder. That synergy isn't necessarily there. It's only between him, the old man. I can say that because we're about the same age. I've got a couple of years on him.
That's right.
And Edelman.
Yeah.
You know, whereas once upon a time he had that synergy with 3 or 4 of them, and Baker's really only got it with Jarvis. Last year he had it with Perriman, Jarvis, and Hollywood Higgins.
Yes. Yes.
So you know that takes one season, everything changes. So,
I like that.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so I wrote down, and this is sort of reflecting because I was reflecting on Lamar, and I was thinking about the Chargers as well. Don't want to pick a fight with Myles Garrett. That's
a fair point.
That's a fair point. Yeah, I'll give you that. I was reflecting on Lamar Jackson and the massive turnaround, turnaround. The Ravens have always been competitive, but this is shot them up to amongst the top in terms of Super Bowl favorite, right?
Absolutely.
Quarterbacks matter. In this league, quarterbacks matter, and you know that more than anyone, right? As a Browns fan, right? Because
We've had
the
99.
Browns have
We've
tried,
had 99.
tried and tried and tried. It's just been crazy bad luck. But like quarterbacks matter. You hit upon a guy, it doesn't. You can draft the best running back in the league, the best wide receiver, the best tight end, defensive end. None of these guys have as much of an impact as quarterback.
Absolutely not.
Now, I went looking for some stats. Ganley, you'll like this. Stats man. I found a Harvard Business Review article from April this year and they looked back at 38 years of data, right? Looking at the win-loss records of teams, etc. And they determined that there was a group of 4, the quarterback, the coach, the GM, and the owner, that basically accounted for 68% of the success of a team, right? And then they broke that down, and quarterback was the most significant, 37%, with coaches being 29, GMs 22, and owners 11. So, like the owner, not much actual effect.
Just don't say that to Al Davis or Jerry.
No, that's right. But quarterbacks have an amazing influence on a team, which makes perfect sense, right? You know that because, oh man, Andrew's dropped a massive thing here. 2 things. I'll come back to that in just a second. So quarterback, you hit upon a quarterback, you are set as a team, right? Hopefully the Browns have got their quarterback of the future. The Chargers, you see the effect on the Chargers. We went from 12-4 last year. This year we look terrible. Phillip Rivers looks done. And now we're going to have to just muck in. And I think, well, you've got to just go and try and get the best guy you can. And maybe even you do what the Vikings did that year when they picked RG3 and Cuz, maybe even, flip a couple of coins.
Yeah.
But quarterback is the most important position to an NFL football team.
I think it's probably the most important position in world sport. If you look at it,
if
you look at all sports globally,
potentially,
there's, you can flick power forwards in basketball, you can change, forwards in football, whether it's the round ball code, Aussie rules, or whatever. But the quarterback can make or break a multi-million, even billion-dollar franchise, and we've had a lot of them.
Yes. Ooh, yeah. So, look, it might be completely obvious, right? But quarterbacks super important.
I'm with you.
And look at Tennessee. They give Mariota the ass. Tannehill.
Not before time, just quite.
Not before time. And now they're in playoff contention. Andrew says 2 things he's learned. Overtime coaches go back to what they know best. Jason Garrett, conservative play. Yeah, it's a fair call. Andrew's first live listen. Welcome, Andrew. It's great to have you on. Great to have you on board. Despite leading the Pigskin Pick'em. Oh, you're leading the Pigskin Pick'em. Man, I fell behind a long time ago. And you were talking about your one, Dave, where you're going for some long shots this week to try and kind of catch up.
Tipping competition, yeah.
Yes. Ganley, is there another world sport where one position is as important as a quarterback? I would say no.
Completely agree with you, Chris.
No.
Absolutely, mate. That's exactly right.
I mean, they call it a team game, but I mean, honestly, I used to be a big fan of the NBA, and I kind of got turned off it because, in essence, you got 5 guys on the court, and you'd have teams, that was Chicago Bulls era, and you'd just have they had just like a dominant, well, I won't say dominant 5, dominant 4 or 5-ish.
4 and Luke Longley.
Yeah, 4 and Luke Longley. I was a big Seattle Sonics guy, and so Sean Kemp and Gary Payton were kind of like it.
That's
2.
it.
They had 2. But
Sean Kemp was the quarterback.
Yeah. But in basketball, you lose that guy, and that has such a massive effect on your team. And so that was, and I was following NFL, but I became more interested in NFL because I thought, well, here you've got really 2 different sides of the ball, but really you got special teams, but you've got a massive team. You got 53 guys. But still, at the end of the day, yes, you still do have a quarterback. And often when we're talking about particular matchups, we're talking about, oh, man, it's Brady versus Jackson, It's like Mahomes versus Derek Carr. Or that's not much of a matchup, but,
Unmitigated disaster.
So, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Well, my next one follows exactly onto that.
Oh, nice.
Sophomore slumps do exist.
Ooh. Yeah,
so
they do.
QBs. There are the odd ones out of the box, but you go back through history and there's a sophomore slump. While I'm talking about Baker, but Sam Darnell's the same. Josh Rosen had the opportunity to grab the ball. And I know, look, but he was in a really tough position this year. I feel he's a guy I kind of feel for.
He hasn't had a good crack, really.
No. And the players that are there, they've picked him up at Taco Bell and probably walking out of a pub and strip club in Miami. Let's be honest. So he left Arizona with his head held high. The video he released, he sounded like a very articulate and contrite man who was really looking forward to trying something new in Miami. And then obviously they sold the sink, the taps, the new carpet, the television, the cars, and everything.
Yes.
So I feel bad for him. Maybe he gets another shot in the team.
Yeah, maybe. Man, that guy is so unlucky.
Yeah. So, sophomore slumps, Rosen got mono, which...
Darnold got mono.
Sorry, Darnold. Yeah. Darnold got mono.
He's looking good now, though.
Shake your head at, but he's starting to come good.
Yep.
The only one that sort of really hasn't, and I'll be interested to see further down the track, is Allen and Jackson, because this is really Lamar's first season.
Yes.
True first season.
Yep.
And Allen's kind of had a rookie baptism of fire.
Yeah.
So let's see. Now he's found his feet. Will he have that? I know it's not a true sophomore, but is it going to happen the next one down?
He's looking pretty good, though.
Again, looking good. Could take the cake off Tom.
Yes. Yeah. No, I like it. Very good. Next one I've got, this is a bit of a fantasy tilt, Dave. So
go for it. Yeah.
This will be, but you may be able to relate. I've said trust your instincts. Ganley, I know you'll be all in on this one. So we do, in our off season, we do lots of scouting stuff, watching film, talking about players, etc. And often we have a take on a guy. The guy can be slow out of the blocks. He could be injured. He could be stashed down a depth chart. It might not be a great situation at a particular team that he's at. And sometimes you lose a little bit of faith. And the thing that I'm starting to get stronger in my belief is that if you believe something about a guy, you should stay with it. Don't lose faith. Stay with it until you really see proof otherwise.
Yep.
and I know this is maybe not the best example, but many years ago, and I have to figure out. Well, maybe someone can tell me when Devontae Parker was drafted. So the draft where Devontae Parker came out, I'll tell you a little story. So it was the same year Todd Gurley came out, and we had in our main dynasty league, I think I had maybe the 3rd or 4th pick.
Oh, nice.
And Todd Gurley fell. Now, Todd Gurley was coming off injury.
Surprise.
Speaking of knees.
Speaking of bad knees.
Right. And I had in the back of my mind, Melvin Gordon. That was the same year as Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon went number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember what happened after that. Todd Gurley had fallen to me at maybe 3. But I was a little bit put off by the knees, and I was also high on one Devontae Parker, who I picked over Todd Gurley, which made me look like a real goose. Actually, still sort of probably does make me look like a big idiot. But Devontae Parker, all of a sudden, now this is the thing, he was never short on talent. That guy was never short on talent. It was up here. The guy just didn't have the desire or the will or the, I don't know.
Again, we talk about synergy. You and I are rolling in it.
2015.
Nice word.
Yep.
Match. Just an extension on that. Teams league wide.
Yep.
Stop hiring, drafting, and retaking players with baggage.
Right.
You only end up getting bitten in the keister.
You do.
We obviously lost Callaway. He's now waiting on a 10-week suspension for the next team that picks him up. If anyone picks him up.
Talented guy.
Talented guy. Failed a drug test pre-combine.
Never a good sign.
Failed a drug test in his rookie year.
Yep.
Came back looking like he'd been feeding on the munchies over the off season.
Yeah.
Now let go because he failed another drug test.
Yep.
Josh Gordon, how many years did we keep him? He went to New England. But an interesting stat about Josh, he's 11-0 this season. So if you haven't got him in your draft, in your teams for the final run, and you can get him off the waivers, he's a guy for your fantasy teams. He's being used really well in Seattle, and he's got a potential for a big game this week. But in regards to your fantasy stuff, for fantasy, I went with a good tight end is a sure thing.
Oh, nice.
I like tight ends. I'm back liking tight ends.
Yep.
You know, I'm not a huge fantasy guy, but I love listening to what you and G and a few other guys I listen to on pods talk about fantasy. And I've just gone with, I reckon a good tight end can help you maybe just with those handful of points to just get you either on your way or bring you over the line.
Oh, speaking of which, so you might be the man with the finger on the pulse, but David Njoku, how close is he?
I would have played him last week, but there's something going on. Freddie doesn't like playing players who are coming out of injury for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on.
You guys need him.
We need him, absolutely, because Harris can't catch a cold.
No.
So I would love to see him out there. If he's out there this week, great.
Because there's a guy who has the potential to be one of the top tight ends in the league.
Him and Kittle could be 1 and 2 without even him, Kittle and Kelsey, top 3 without even batting eyelids.
And that would help Baker no end.
Absolutely.
I mean, Landry helps Baker, yes, and I'm a big Jarvis Landry fan. But he needs that other. I mean, having Njoku and Landry, that would do the world of good.
No, I don't believe he is. But I have a rumor for you, Ganley, about who New England is going to sign. We'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, really? Ooh. Hey, other people I just had on my list here about trust your instincts. Nick Chubb. Well, Nick Chubb, obviously, we know how good he is, but I was always high on him. Deebo Samuel, I was high on. Yep. Paris Campbell, there's a guy that I remain high on, and you could lose faith in because he's been injured. But there's a guy that, look, give him a chance in that Colts offense. Let's face it, not a lot of competition there, right? And another guy that I'm really high on and no one is talking about, and this is a guy who could genuinely get a shot next year, is Will Greer. And the Panthers drafted him, I think, in the 3rd, and he's just sitting there, and obviously new coach in Carolina next year. He'll certainly get a shot, Will Greer. And, I mean, I was a little cut because I was hoping the Chargers, it would have been a good move for the Chargers to draft him. Man, wouldn't that look good now? But
fantastic,
anyway.
Yeah. Add Washington into that as well for the Steelers, as much as it pains me to say.
Yeah. And so you sort of, that's what I'm saying, is like sometimes you should, if there's players from a fantasy perspective, there's players that you like, and if you haven't seen anything that like absolutely just knocks it on the head to the negative, then just keep the faith. Sometimes it just takes guys some, a bit of time to turn it around.
Yeah. Yes. Ganley.
Yeah.
Yes. AB.
No.
I don't know if anyone has been watching both Twitter and Instagram. He has been training, surprise, surprise, wearing his old Steelers helmet that he's not allowed to wear anymore. But he has posted apologies. He's been posting photos of him and Tom Brady from when they were living together.
What?
He has apologised to Mr. Kraft, both privately and publicly. They need a blazing speed tight end. He is absolutely ripped and moving well.
He is ripped. Yeah, I know.
From the videos I've watched of him now, obviously it's not game conditions or anything like that.
No.
But do not be surprised that he ends up back in New England.
Oh, man.
I know. But again, it goes back to my thing. Don't hire, don't draft, don't trade for people with baggage.
Oh.
And he's got a ton of it.
He does. Okay. Hit me with another one.
Offensive lines.
Oh, yeah.
O-lines.
Important.
Massively.
Fancy that.
League-wise, and I know this is sort of stating the bleeding obvious. Thank you, Captain Obvious. But O-lines, I don't know what it is, but there just doesn't seem to be the depth in O-lines as there once were. D-lines, you've got these monsters that are coming out of Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, blah, 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 blah. The O-lines, complete different, but they don't do what they used to do. I was listening to some linemen talk on a couple of different podcasts, and they only do 3, 4, or 5 sort of blocking or run drills where for this college, in the college system, I mean. Now,
right. Yeah.
They're not doing the in-depth of pro league. So the talent that should be there isn't there. They're just big heffalumps that stand there, block, or they charge a little bit,
right? And
the running backs do all the work.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's so O-lines across the league, they tend to be a little bit like barn doors.
Yes,
because you look at blokes like Bosa, Garrett minus a helmet.
Yeah.
Bosa, Khalil Mack, Bosa.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Ogba before he'd torn his pectoral muscle.
Yeah.
At Kansas City, Bennett.
Yes.
All these big monster blokes are just getting sack numbers.
Yeah.
There's literally a race on to see who's going to get to 20 this year.
Yeah, that's right.
And the O-lines are just not holding up. So I think league-wise, worldwide, we need better offensive linemen.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in the draft. It's definitely a position that, left tackle, you often see a left tackle in the top 5. It just goes to show you. But GMs just seem to shy away from. I don't know why you don't in every draft. If I were a GM, never happened. But
man's allowed to dream.
Man's allowed to dream. You would pick a couple of O-linemen in every draft.
Absolutely, you would.
I would.
Absolutely.
Even if they're just tilts from, round 4 to 7 or something, even fine. Just get bodies.
3, 5, and 7.
Sure. Just get bodies in the door. Because the value of an O-line.
Well, we took one at 33.
Yep.
And we got a 5th and a 6th back for him, and he's now in LA, and he didn't look good for the Rams.
Right. Yeah.
And they're just not there. They go, well, we hope he's going to be good. You've just spent the 33rd pick on him. He'd better be damn good.
Yeah.
And he didn't even make it through the second season.
Yeah.
You know, so and that's not just Cleveland. That seems to be league wide. You know, from what everyone's been saying.
Yep.
Because everyone has been trying to get all the O linemen off the waiver wires, and like I said, grabbing them out of parking lots in. You know, at Chick-fil-A when they're lining up for a sandwich.
That's right. I wrote down as my next one. This is a bit of a redraft one, but this one goes for a while. You just have to bear with me. But I said in redraft fantasy football, in particular, running backs are king. The top running backs, Christian McCaffrey, who I think might even be close to the top fantasy scorer. Obviously, it depends on your scoring.
Yep.
Lamar, probably a little bit. CMC, just under, I think. Dalvin Cook, who's been absolutely amazing. Derrick Henry, again.
He's getting hot.
Oh,
He is getting hot. So if anyone's got him, hang on to him.
yeah. Aaron Jones, who can run a little hot and cold, but mostly hot. Austin Eckler, who's the graph has been sort of like this, a little bit like this, hot earlier in the year. I mean, that just gives me, that just makes me, I mean, Melvin Gordon's he's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone. And the Chargers could go and get this. Oh man, this running back class is coming out is whoo. And they could get, they could pick a running back in the second or third, just like a thumper.
Yes.
And him and Eckler, fine. And then you got it sorted. That's not a problem. Obviously, Zeke, Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, Mark Ingram, Chris Carson, although Rashad Penny's kind of taking over a little bit. But I found this. The most, now, obviously, we are going into week 14, Dave, is the start of fantasy playoffs. Right. And on ESPN, they had the most common players in playoff teams, right, on the ESPN fantasy app.
Yeah.
The most common player on playoff teams, Christian McCaffrey.
Of course.
78%. He's on 78% of teams. Number 2, Dalvin Cook. All right.
How many, what did they give the percent on?
69%.
69%, yeah.
Lamar Jackson, number 3, 68%. The Patriots D. So, I mean, ESPN fantasy app is probably pretty standard kind of quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, defense, kicker, I think.
Yep.
So the Patriots D was on 64% of squads. Austin Eckler.
They were hot to start with.
Oh, yeah. Austin Eckler on 63%. Darren Waller, who has been
from the Raiders, yeah.
Yeah.
Hard knocks.
On fire, 63% of squads. Michael Thomas. So there's the first wide receiver at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Michael Thomas for 61%, Chris Godwin 59%, Travis Kelce 59%, and Mark Andrews 58%. It's a couple of tight ends at the end. But CMC, Dalvin Cook, and Lamar Jackson, basically the 3 most popular players on fantasy playoff teams.
All running backs.
Lamar. Oh, yeah. Yeah, very good. All running backs. But get this, right? So, I know this is kind of a long one. This is the age of the running back. We're coming back around, right? We've been through the age of the wide receiver. Running backs are coming back into style. This next running back crop is lit.
Oh.
But get this, the 2017 running back class.
Yes.
Right? 26 running backs were drafted. Let me read. I'm not going to read all the 26. I'm just going to read you some names. This is just in 2017, right? First running back off the board, Christian McCaffrey.
He's fairly handy, I've heard.
Oh, he's not bad.
Heard a rumor.
He's got some potential.
Yeah.
Second running back. So he was pick 8, right? Pick 41. So we're now in the second round. The second running back picked was Dalvin Cook.
I've heard he's all right too. Yeah.
He's good too.
Yeah.
At pick 48, still in the second round, Joe Mixon.
He's starting to get hot.
The third round, pick 67, Alvin Kamara.
I've heard that name.
How do you like those 4 in a row? I'm going to keep going, though.
Go for it.
Pick 86, we're still in the third, Kareem Hunt.
I've heard that bloke.
Yeah.
Fairly handy. Good on a catch, too.
Now, the Texans, had the next pick at pick 89, or for running back. They picked Donta Foreman. So that was a bit of a bump bowl. But then the Steelers at pick 105, James Conner.
Yeah, jury's still out, I think.
Well, I like Conner. But anyway, 4th round, pick 114, the Redskins picked Samaje Perine. To think that I talked before about liking, staying by your instincts, and I was very hot on Perine. And you look at all those names, right, on that list, and my pick was Samaje Perine. Like I picked Perine in drafts over Alvin Kamara. Easy, Next pick by the Bears, round 4, Tariq Cohen.
Looks really good today.
Let me keep going. Round 4, towards the back. I'm just skipping a couple of running backs. Pick 143, Marlon Mack. Let me go to round 5 now. At pick 182, the Packers picked Aaron Jones. Let me go further down now to round 7, and the Seahawks picked Chris Carson.
There you go.
So how do you like that for the 2017 running back class?
That's not bad, is it?
Whew.
And so the 2020 class is another one. So every 3 years, look out for your running backs.
The 2020 class looks absolutely amazing, where there's gonna be names that'll end up being like that, where there's many more hits than misses. So I think the age of the running back, if it's not here already, it's coming.
Yeah, that feeds into what I was looking at too, was the way that the teams are running the defenses. So AFC seem to be running a lot of 3-3-5, 4-2-5 hybrid linebacker safety kind of thing.
Yep.
Whereas the NFC, and I might be only focusing on a few teams there, but look, and I'm happy to be corrected, but they seem to be running more of your traditional 3-4 or 4-3s.
Right.
So maybe that lines up for your running backs, because a lot of those guys you made mention of in the first are all in the NFC.
Yes.
Kamara, CMC,
Yep.
Carson, and a few of the others.
Yeah.
Are all, so maybe that's that differentiation between defensive mindsets, like you were saying before. West Coast it's a cyclical thing.
Yes.
West Coast gets boring or it loses its pop. Let's go with something else. So maybe that was just something I was looking at. That's playing the high safety, the linebacker safety hybrids in the AFC. Now, I know that's not, I know that's just a bit of a generalization, but it's sort of what I've been watching and noticing. And you look at the linebacker numbers coming on and off the field, defensive linemen, maybe even doing what do they call it? I think it's the Bear five linemen, but they're really 3 linemen with 2 outside linebackers, but they're all up on the edge, ready to rush sort of stuff. So, yeah.
You're playing a lot of nickel.
Yeah.
And, you're right. And that was sort of as a direct result of the increase in passing.
The air raid stuff.
Yeah. And so you'd have sometimes you'd have 5 across the back, you'd have 3 safeties on the field.
Correct, yeah.
And yes, you're right. And so that's going to have a profound effect. If we've suddenly have this injection of running backs next year and potentially the year after, defense is going to have to respond, and it's going to have to be the big fellas up front
and agile, large linebackers, which we've kind of gone away from.
We have.
You look at a lot of them now. Yeah, they're still reasonably tall. They're still your 6'1" to 6'3", 6'4" guys.
But there's not much to them.
They're not. No. They're your 250 pounds. So 125. Now, granted, I don't want to be meeting that coming at me at a 5'1" on a 40. You know what I mean? A 5.1 on a 40.
No.
But you're right. They're not like your Mike Singletary's.
No.
Your Clay Matthews.
No.
Even your Clay Matthews 3.
I was going to say, your Junior Seau.
Junior Seau.
Yeah.
They were mobile brick outhouses.
Yep.
But now they've gone to more of your lean athletic style because they need to drop back into coverage.
Yep.
So, that was just something that's interesting that, like I said, we're synergy, mate. This is all happening.
I bet Junior Seau. I went to I went to the Chargers and the Broncos this was the Australia Bowl. They did the preseason exhibition in Sydney.
Yep.
And
that was in the Sydney Football Stadium, yes?
Yes. And I went to the hotel the Chargers were staying at, and I just sort of hung out there like a groupie.
Yeah.
And sort of, had a chat with Darren Bennett. He was there, and
yes, Mr. Bennett. Yes.
And Junior I spotted him, and it was unmistakable. Like you could not miss the guy.
No.
And obviously, like, you can't miss an NFL footballer because they're just like big, bloody brick shithouse
Absolutely.
kind of guy.
And muscly too. It's the muscle size too.
But I mean, obviously, he just sort of had a t-shirt on and jeans, but imposing, impressive guy. And I shook his hand.
Massive hands.
And I said something inspirational. It's like, hey, Junior, or something.
Yeah.
And I shook this guy's hand, and man, the grip and just he was an impressive.
Softly spoken though, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, softly spoken.
Yeah.
Lovely guy.
Yeah.
He entertained me, bloody idiot, just running up to him and shaking his hand. But he was a lovely guy. I got his autograph and a photo and stuff.
Well, the thing that I've learnt being on Twitter is our American friends are blown away with, one, our love of the game,
right,
two, our understanding of it, and three, some of us like you and I, and obviously a lot of your followers are historians of it as well. We love to know.
Oh yeah,
not only the colleges, but where they've come from and why they were traded and all those sorts of things. That's just that blows them away. So I mean, I'm sure while you say he was entertaining you, I'm sure he was actually quite quietly chuffed that he goes, oh, there's a big Aussie, there's an Aussie here who likes us.
Yeah. And that's it's hard because I know that they can get a little bit tired of that, especially in the States. They would get accosted frequently.
Yeah.
So yes, as you said, bless his soul. I wrote down as the next thing that I've learned is you can play in. You won't have experienced this, Dave, but you may start to get into this. But I said you can play in too many fantasy leagues.
I have heard this.
Yeah, because I think I've experienced this year. I don't know what the sweet spot is. I'd be interested to hear what the sweet spot is for people. And I tweeted a bit of a poll out before. How many fantasy leagues do you play in? 1 to 3, 51%. 4 to 6, 22%. 7 to 10, 9%. Greater than 11, 18%. I play in 26. Yeah, I know.
Bloody Nora.
I know, it's crazy. And look, partly it's because every year because we like doing this, and we also, the off season is long, you'll have a startup or two and you kind of add to things. And I don't know, maybe I've been playing fantasy for 10 years, but I remember the first year I did it, I just had one league. And the trouble with one league is if you're not doing so well,
it's a long year.
It's a long year and it's over quickly. You're kind of like, ugh. And also you're just kind of like swapping one or two guys out and you're kind of like chewing the scenery. You're like, what am I doing here? Yeah.
But doesn't 26 give you fantasy fatigue? Now I'm going to put that in as a new medical condition.
Fantasy fatigue.
Fantasy fatigue. 26 teams.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I think it does. And I'm actually kind of relieved that we're now in fantasy playoffs because it's like there are a number of teams which didn't make it. And now it's just eased the burden a bit. But I've found that I feel like if you stretch yourself too far, like, yes, I kind of enjoyed doing all those kind of startup drafts and stuff. But then at the end of the day, if you're committed to all of these leagues, then you spread yourself thin and you're not really being an active member of any of them.
Yeah.
Right.
I reckon half that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 26, yes.
Are they all dynasty leagues, though?
No, some are redraft. So
how many out of your 26, how many are dynasties?
The majority.
Okay,
The majority. Matt says 17, 12 are dynasty. Whoa. Rod said 45. Really?
How the hell do you have time to do that?
45. Spinksy says 16. Yeah, so I've kind of feel like in order for me to enjoy fantasy and also be more a part of the trading, the community of all the leagues, I have to cut it down like probably by half.
Yep.
So like this off season, I'm just going to take the axe to it.
Yep.
I think you just kind of need to do that. Yeah, it's too many.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Because I listen to some of the boys that do 3 or 4 leagues, and
right.
and and they talk about the stress that they're under doing 3 or 4 and trying to manage those squads, let alone 26 of them.
Yes. Yeah, it's too many. So I think that you've got to just take stock. This is something that, okay, I've been playing, as I said, I've been playing fantasy for probably 10 years. It's probably taken me, I probably knew this for a little bit, but it took maybe 10 years to kind of like come to the table and admit it.
And you admitted it live on YouTube that you have an official problem.
I have a problem.
You have, yeah.
But I think that is too many. And at the end of the day, if you have a number of fantasy leagues that you can reasonably manage, then you can be involved in chats on the league site. You can actually be actively trading, doing all of that sort of stuff. Whereas if you've got that many, it's a concerted effort. Like sometimes I will sit down and I'll just look at one team and I'll think, I'm going to play around with this one team. And I'm not looking at the 25 others,
Yeah.
So,
You get one favourite child and you've got 25 orphans.
You spread yourself kind of thin.
Way too thin, yeah.
And certainly, I mean, very early in the season, there were some teams that I said, I'm not a chance in this one. I'm not really going to bother. Which is also not really that fair to
the other competitors.
The other people that, you're playing with. So, yeah. Okay.
All right, another one for league-wide.
Okay.
Some old blokes should just know when to hang it up.
Who are you referring to? Not Phillip Rivers.
Oh no, not old sidearm pie thrower. Of course not. No. There's
Mr. Brady.
Mr. Brady.
Yeah.
Mr. Manning.
Oh, Mr. Manning. Oh, that was something we could have mentioned in the news.
Oh yes, he's back.
Yeah.
Late breaking. There we go. We'll call it late breaking news.
The farewell tour. Yeah.
He who looks like Eli Manning is in a in a walking boot with a high ankle sprain, and he who is the genuine Eli Manning is making a comeback. Now the question being,
it's like John Farnham.
He is. He's making more comebacks than John Farnham. Monday Night Football, Eagles, Giants, absolute tip fire of a game. Eli Manning is back under centre.
Yep.
As I said to you before the podcast.
What's the stat line?
Well, that's exactly right. For Eli Manning, it's going to be, now others can chime in here, please. It's either going to be he's going to pass for like 330 yards and 4 TDs and rush one, or he's going to throw for $125 and throw 4 picks, and 2 of them are going to be pick sixes.
I think the latter is more on the cards. Yeah.
So that's another one. So Eagles, but that goes back to our comment earlier regarding Eagles, Giants, Cowboys. Like it's just, and Redskins. It's just It's just a dumpster fire of a division.
Yes, it certainly is. Chris has chimed in. Now, our original redraft league is the very first league that we started up.
Yep.
And I'm not leaving that, Chris, so don't worry. And Chris is in that league, and he owns my ass. I don't know what it is. Every time I play him.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Ganley, I'm sure you won't disagree, but like a lot of times I've come up against him, my team has looked much, much better on paper.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
He always has my number.
My team looks good on paper. Yeah. And they get whipped.
But points are points, right? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter how you get them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dearie me.
Speaking of which, that's a really good segue because the next thing I said that I've learned, a fantasy league, has to be fun. Yes, right. And this is a bit like the KonMari method. Are you familiar with the KonMari method, Dave?
No,
you're a new age guy. You'd be familiar with.
I'm afraid my chakras aren't aligned that way.
The KonMari method, this is a Japanese lady who is all about tidying and organizing.
Oh, this is the unpacking lady.
Yes.
Right. Yes, I have heard of her. Yeah.
Now, about 6 months ago, I did the KonMari method to my wardrobe. So she has this thing where you hold like this, your woolly jumper, and you ask yourself, does it give you joy?
Right.
And if it doesn't give you joy, well,
So
give it to the salvos, and it can give someone else some joy.
So I'm giving away the Browns then.
Yeah.
Is it Atlanta Falcons t-shirt?
Yeah. Because I guess the point I'm trying to make is, if you're in a league and it doesn't give you joy, then just ditch it, which is something I'm going to be applying to my 26. And I should be able to get rid of a good number of those. Because there's some that I'm in that I'm just like, why am I even playing in this league? I don't like the setup of it, or I don't like the people in it, or whatever. There's combinations of those.
And I agree with that. 26 is doing your head in.
Yeah.
There's some
For one.
and and you're not investing the right amount of time in it. And
no,
the ones that you aren't winning in, I mean, it is always all about winning, but sometimes you can't win, and clearly gambling's got your measure. So
No, but I'm sticking
with that one.
I'm sticking with that one, so don't worry. 100% with you, AJ. Cheers. It's just you got to enjoy the league that you're in. You got to enjoy the setup, the scoring, but whatever it is. The people make it. Yeah, and the people make it too.
Yeah, I think
otherwise
just interaction.
Yeah.
So one I had was, and this is both leagues and Browns for me. To unlock stars, you need trust, and from that trust comes back to my original point of the synergy. Now, clearly and you can look through all the stats from all the games that players you'd think possibly be targeted, especially you guys in fantasy. With your fantasy you go, well, hang on, these receivers are being targeted or should be targeted X number of times because they've got the stats on the board, but for whatever reason, maybe Aaron Rodgers has lost faith in them. Phillip Rivers has lost faith in them. It doesn't matter which team you're talking about. Somewhere along the line, from week to week, month to month, yes, receivers go cold. They might drop one, and all of a sudden the QB is now no longer happy with them. But something else happens there. You know what I mean? Like, it can't just be one incident. There's probably something else. So that trust is really important, I think, for a whole team environment. But like you were saying before, QBs are the linchpin. QB to receiver, QB to tight end. That trust needs to be there if you want to unlock it, and it includes stars to rookies. Yep.
And Aaron Rodgers is a good example, because if he doesn't trust his receivers, he just doesn't throw them the ball.
Correct. Absolutely.
You're on the outs.
Yeah, you're on the outer, and you'll be on the trade table or you'll be on waiver wire in 10 days, 14 days.
Yeah. Precisely.
So, that was something that I've watched from my own team, but also you watch from other teams, transitional two from QB to QB, like Mariota to Tannehill, Teddy or Drew to Teddy to Drew.
Oh, there's one that worked.
It did, but there's been receivers that have gone hot and cold throughout that period for whatever reason, because they're two different quarterbacks. They've got different launch points. They've got different rotations on the ball, and they're looking for, or they perhaps favor a pattern or run or runner differently.
Yes.
So
nice.
That's it's a bit more holistic.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned one which was a really nice segue to my next one, because I said something that I've learned. I just wonder if the Titans have learned it, but I reckon Ryan Tannehill is the Titans quarterback of the future.
Second that. I second that.
And, I don't think he has to do very much more really to cement that. Maybe take him to the playoffs. Is that enough? It might be. He only took over the starting job in week 7.
Yep.
Since then, he's got a 5-1 record. He ranks first in yards per attempt at 9.1, second in completion percentage, 71.9%. He's tied for third in combined rush and pass touchdowns at 15. His stats and what he's doing is just, he's laying it out there. He's putting it on the record, and I think that I feel like he's done enough right now. But I think if he takes him to the playoffs, then I think that is definitely enough. The Titans, then they can go into next year. They don't have to go and get their quarterback of the future. They can spend a draft pick on some other piece. Let's face it, they don't need a running back.
Nope.
They don't need a tight end. I'm a fan of Johnny Smith. I don't think they need a tight end.
You always need extras, though.
Yeah, true. AJ Brown, well, maybe Corey Davis, a bit disappointing, but AJ Brown, they don't need a wide receiver one. Their defense is pretty damn handy. I think their defense is like top 3D.
It's only the players that might be getting a bit long in the tooth that might hang up the cleats or filling gaps for potential injuries.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is one hole and then they don't have to fill. They're a team on the rise.
And leading into that,
Yep.
the Titans have the Raiders, the unmitigated disaster with the $100 million coach.
The Raiders have lost 2 on the trot.
2 on the trot.
Yep.
Now, granted, the Titans have to go to LA. Where are they playing? At the Coliseum?
Coliseum.
All right. So it's a travel, but
It's one of the last
bastions.
games in
The Coliseum.
the Coliseum. That's one of the last games in LA
Yeah.
for the Raiders.
So the Raiders, correct. Yeah. So can Ryan continue to do that? And he's making a very good case for himself.
Oh, is he ever?
But he's needed to.
Yes.
How many times has he missed?
And this is
He's had
coming back to
opportunities.
synergy, isn't it? Because you look at him in Miami and you would have said that, I mean, will we say, I don't think we will say, but could you not say that Mariota in the right circumstance? Maybe not.
I've never understood the fascination some people have with Marcus Mariota.
He's very slight too, isn't
Yeah.
he? You know?
Fold him up and put him in your back pocket.
Yes.
I don't know. They've seen it. And I saw someone talking about before when we were talking about sophomore slumps, Trubisky. He's another one. Like,
Oh, he had a game today.
But he's playing for his career, mate.
He is. Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of whispers about who we were talking about earlier in your stats, Cam Newton post-surgery going there.
I wouldn't mind him at the Chargers, frankly.
Yeah, I think he'd actually probably be a pretty good fit for the Chargers. But for how long?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
What's he worth of a contract? Well, how old is he? He's 35?
Tannehill?
No, sorry, 30?
No, I don't think he's 30. I don't think he's quite. Oh, hang on. How many years did he have at the Finns? 4 or 5, maybe? I don't think he's quite 30.
Well, playing under Andrew Gase it's like a 2-to-1 year, isn't it? Like for every calendar year, it's an extra year.
Ganley
or Campy.
How old's Ryan Tannehill?
Ryan Tannehill, yeah, because I would say just as a conservative, you might offer him 3 as the years and 70 mil, 60 guaranteed. He's 31.
He's 31. I was going to say he's born in 88.
Yeah, so he's 31.
Yeah.
So he's due to be 32 next year at some stage.
He's a little older than I thought then.
Yeah, so maybe you go 3-year contract, $70 million, 60 of it guaranteed, perhaps. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think. You could always just make it incentive, probably will have incentives anyway.
Yeah.
But, he was drafted 2012. There you go. Pick 8 in the first round.
First round.
Ganley, 31. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we that was like 5 minutes ago. Sorry. He was at the Finns from 2012 to 2018. So they hung with him for a long time, didn't work out, and now he's blossoming. So go figure.
Different playbook, different receivers, fresh
Yeah.
start. And like I said, playing for his career, and he's doing it. And that's exactly what Trubisky did today.
Yeah.
I mean, he rushed for the first time. Well, not for the first time, but he rushed properly for the first time in a long time and looked good doing it, Trubisky did.
Yes. Yeah. All right. You know what? I've actually gone through all of mine, Dave. So any others? You just throw them out there now.
I have just one. I actually got 2 left.
All right.
Cheeky notes on what we've learnt this year.
Okay. Browns wise?
No.
No.
The
League wise.
The refs. They are another dumpster fire.
They're still not professionally full-time employed,
Correct.
which is nuts.
Correct.
I think the NFL just quietly, I think, makes a bit of coin, don't they?
I've heard a rumor that they're quite comfortable. Now, I was listening to a podcast that said conservatively,
Yeah.
each owner would have to tip in $1 to $1.5 million each year
Okay.
to get the technology that was in the AAF. That being that on-site crew there, so it'll be an 8-man crew, I think.
Yep.
Now.
Yep.
But it'll all be discussed, and it would be all open, and it'll be all transparent. Now, they're realistically not going down any rabbit holes.
Yep.
But there's only one interest that wouldn't go for that: the desert.
Right.
Minute-to-minute gambling, being
Yes.
receivers, drop balls, potentials for turnovers, and all
Yes.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That sort of stuff where they might be paying out early might not necessarily be to their
Mm.
liking. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going down any rabbit holes because that's for people who live in basements and have tinfoil hats.
Yeah,
But-
right.
But
It's a fair call, though.
you know,
I
the
mean,
refs
how-
have been terrible.
Yes.
They surely have enough coin, as you were saying, to go professional.
Yes.
To go
And
professional.
as you said, to just have, your Al Riveron or whoever it was, like have your
He
guy
needs
in
to
New
be
York,
sacked.
he's terrible.
He is woeful.
Yeah. But you could just have someone watching them. Like we will watch a game and you'll say, oh, that they missed that. That's a terrible
Hopkins.
call.
In the end zone,
Right.
he was mugged,
Mm.
had his wallet taken. I think they may have. I think they may have even stolen his wife's earrings from that tackle.
Yeah.
He had no opportunity to get the ball all day, every day. That is pass interference.
Yeah.
End of story.
Oh, the whole pass interference flag thing is a joke.
We need that
So
to be fixed too.
Inconsistent.
Yeah.
And the whole what is a catch, what's not a catch. I mean, there's so many things that are wrong. And as you said, see, the gambling angle, it does change things
a lot.
a lot. And just incidentally, and this might be, Dave, this will be a bit of a different thing.
Yeah.
Some people will understand exactly what I'm saying, but IDP, so they do, when you play fantasy, all the scores is absolutely live. So you can see exactly, who's winning, who's losing, whatever.
Yep.
But defensive stats are not official stats. So they have stat crews at the stadiums taking, tackles, assists,
tackles,
etc.
Sacks, half sacks. and
Is
all
the
that.
main
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
Tackles for loss, passes defended, that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But stat corrections for IDP come through, and they tend to be quite late in the week.
Oh.
And that is problematic. So, for example, in a league I was playing in, my result was a win. Actually, it didn't change my result. My result was win. I won my matchup, and I was in the playoffs as the number 6 seed, fantasy playoffs. Not my opponent, in another matchup, which was super close, had IDP stat corrections that came through. Now, this was the Thanksgiving weekend, so
Right, yeah.
you know how the Thanksgiving game. So normally Thursday night
night,
football
yeah.
is sort of midday for
Yep,
us,
Yep.
but the Thanksgiving games
It's all day.
they started early.
Yeah,
so I think
yeah,
the
yeah.
first one was like that Detroit game might have been 4 a.m.
3 or 4 a.m. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So I went to sleep in the fantasy playoffs. Overnight, the stat corrections came through, kicked me out of the playoffs. When I woke up, I checked the score and thought, hang on, I'm not actually playing the person I thought I was playing. What's going on? Stat correction, and I'd been kicked out. And that was super late. That was
Wow.
like only just like literally hours before kickoff on the Thursday, Thanksgiving Day,
Right.
which is appalling.
That is atrocious.
So what does that do from a Vegas perspective?
Well, they're payouts, aren't they?
They are.
Because they would be paying out. For those that are interested, there's a current investigation. There's an article on Bet365
Really?
going on here in Australia. But you search the article. It's quite interesting on the restrictions and limitations they put on gamblers if they've been seen to win.
Really?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, it's quite an interesting little article with a couple of whistleblowers and stuff like that. It's an
Ooh.
interesting article. It's those things that always make you raise your eyebrows when you see the points spread out of the desert,
Ooh.
and then there's a late penalty, and all of
Right.
a sudden you start going, how is all this?
Yeah.
But we need to get the refs sorted. We need to get them fixed. The pass interferences, the lines to the face.
Yeah.
The hands to the face. Hands to the face.
Yes.
Now-
Yes, I agree. It is tragic. I sort of threw stuff around the room. Well, almost.
I don't
But
blame you.
But I mean, Vegas loves to take your money. They just don't like it when you win.
Yes. and this is the thing. They need to cover point spreads because most people probably don't want to take the point spread because it's too basic.
No, and I imagine they will probably have something built into their clauses when all of this kicks in, right across the whole of North America, that they'll say at the end of the Monday night football games, say, then all results are final.
Yes.
And no stat corrections will
Be allowed.
affect the result. Yeah, will be allowed. They'll probably do something like that, I imagine. Otherwise, how do you actually do it? Yeah, Andrew's talking about 365 as well.
Yeah.
Bet
Now-
365.
Now, my last little cheeky one is commentators and commentator team groups. Let's be honest. Some make better tight ends, and some should really just get out of the booth and go back to driving a bus, the booger bus, perhaps.
The booger bus.
You know, after he called 3 weeks in a row, he's called players the wrong name.
Yeah.
There needs to be a
terrible.
shake-up. So refs need to be professional.
Yeah.
And so do the commentators in some regards.
Go figure. I mean, there's like this implied, this person has played football, so clearly they'll be great
Correct.
in the commentary booth. And it's like,
No.
I don't think so.
No. So that was just me being, taking the mickey out of the thing to sort of wrap it all up.
No, that's good. I like it. Okay, I think we're there. Lots of things we've learned.
Lots.
That was pretty good. Just quickly before we wrap up, Dave, games are you looking forward to this week? Because I know you got all the games there.
Yeah. So obviously Saints 49ers I picked as
what a cracker.
match of the round. Yeah.
Yep.
I've taken the Saints. Bills in an upset over the Ravens. I'm going for that.
Ooh, what a cracking game. The Bills could win the division.
Bills could take it. Yeah.
Ganley.
Bucks and Vikes. Browns I'm still questioning on because Andy Dalton's back. The Dalton scale is in full effect. And as I said before, Mixon is
Rocket.
Yeah, Mixon's starting to get thanks, Ganley. Really appreciate it, mate. Clearly uncommitted. That's a bit savage. Now, I've taken the Titans, as I said, over the Raiders. I don't think that's too much of a big ask.
Yeah.
The big upset, or not
Yes.
so much the upset, but the big one for me is Cardinals over the Steelers.
Ooh.
At Cardinals.
Yep.
And Chiefs over New England at New England.
Ooh, wheels are falling off the Belichick train.
The Belichick train. So, as I was saying to you before, there's ridiculous stats when it comes to New England and Gillette Stadium.
Yes,
There's something like 98-4 in the last 8 years or 10 years or whatever it is. There's something like 88 wins when they're
right
leading by first quarter.
Yep.
Thanks very much. And if they're trailing by less than a touchdown at halftime,
Yep.
they're like another ridiculous amount of stats. So
Yes.
I'm going to go out on a limb, perhaps, because they're both cold, windy places.
Yeah.
KC at this time of year, and obviously New England. But I'm going to take the Chiefs over New England. I've taken the Finns, the Falcons, the Jags have benched their $100 million man. And
Moustache is back.
And the Mustaka is back.
Yep.
Texans and Packers. And the Seahawks for a win as well over the Rams.
Nice. Yeah, well, getting interesting. And, oh, man, it's a good slate of games, actually.
It's a really good slate
really
of
good
games.
ones.
Yeah.
Dave, thanks very much for
Thanks for having me again.
well, absolutely. Oh, look, our pleasure. And it would have been, even if G was here, it would have been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
But you, maybe G's, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't have him back.
I couldn't do that, team. You guys have been doing this too long, and you're far more professional than I am.
But it's been an absolute pleasure. And we almost got a couple of the other guys to join us as well.
That would have been a good one, yeah.
That would have been a good one. Maybe we can do that.
Yeah, Christmas special or something.
Christmas special. That's right. Christmas special. But thank you very much, Dave. And I always have trouble wrapping this up. And we've gone, well, an hour and a half. It's decent. Yeah. Thanks, everybody who's joined us. As always, appreciate you tuning in, listening, giving us your support. On behalf of Dave and myself, thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.
See you
Ciao.
guys.
See ya. End.